It's time for Talking Pints. I'm joined by Leilani Dowding. Leilani, welcome.
Thank you. Cheers.
Very good to see you. Thank you. The most unusual Christian name I've ever come across.
Yeah, it's actually Hawaiian. My mum's from the Philippines. I don't know why I have a Hawaiian name, but it's always been wrong through school. No one can ever pronounce it. So.
I bet.
I don't get precious.
Now, you're a well-known person. You came up through modelling. You Miss Great Britain and all the other things that you did. How did you get into all of that?
I was actually spotted. I was at university studying economics, and I was spotted outside Leicester Square Hippodrome. Gosh, it's like 26 years ago, I think, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I was 18 at the time, and I was invited to take part in the competition. I did. I won it. I was taking a year out to go to Miss Universe, and I decided not to go back. I ended up doing page 3.
Which now, I mean, that was 20 odd years ago.
Yes, yeah. Before PC times, it was like a time of fun. It was enjoyable. And
did you have any problem doing that?
No, not at all. At the time,
not what economics graduates normally.
No, I hadn't even sunbathed topless on the beach at that point. I didn't tell my parents. They found out when someone from my dad's bowling club called him and said, "I think your daughter's in the sun." So they called me. I said yes. He's like, all right, hang on a minute. Put the phone down. But they were okay with it, I think, because they realised I wasn't going to go off the rails or anything like that, and had my head screwed on. They were fine with it in the end.
I mean, society is very different today, isn't it? We're very much more judgmental about those things. I think a lot of people would say we've moved on. Do you think it's right we've moved on from the days of page 3?
The thing is with page 3 is I always felt it was like just silly. It was just boobs. It was fun. I mean, the amount of filth that you can see, that kids can see at the touch of a button on their phones now.
Oh, that's a fair point.
It's unbelievable. I mean, that's really, I think there's far more damaging stuff out there now, and even on social media with some of the kids, So I just guess it's a different world. Everything's so offensive.
So is it
now.
all a bit of a double standard in some ways?
I think so. I was actually living in Los Angeles at the time they stopped page 3, so I didn't even know it was happening. I came back to England, opened the paper, and I thought, not there anymore. But it gave me a lot of good life lessons. I learnt not to take things at face value. I don't just listen to what I hear. I research it. People's work. I need to see actions, not just words. And I also learnt about the media and how the media can create stories. So, for example, I would do silly things with photographers. I'd meet them in the week. I'd pretend to be falling out of a nightclub drunk, and then he would sell the pictures at the weekend. So we were setting things up. Another thing, I laid by a pool reading a self-help book, which we just got as a prop, and it made a story. So I see how the media can create stories. So you take the Canada trucker protest.
Yeah.
And there's some guy has a picture of somebody walking through with his face fully covered holding a Nazi flag. I mean, was it set up? I find it hard to believe that those things were actually genuine.
All of the stuff you did, Miss Great Britain, page 3, gave you profile. In terms of current affairs and politics, you've been incredibly strongly opposed to lockdown, to mandates. I mean, is this political campaigning? Is this another political campaign for you, or is this the first time you've involved yourself as publicly in something?
Well, I never saw it as political at the time. See, I was probably a little bit nervous as well during the first couple of weeks of lockdown, because
which was reasonable.
Yeah, people were falling. Yeah. The media had people falling over in the streets in China. But 2 weeks in, my friend's 94-year-old grandma got COVID. She also had dementia, and she also had cancer, and she survived. And I thought, the media aren't reporting this thing. All they want to do is push fear and death, even though 99.9% of people, were surviving it. And going back to my fiancé, when I met him 5 years ago, he had cancer. And when people called him up, they didn't say, "Oh, hi, Billy. My mate's just died of COVID," or "My friend's grandma's just died," or "My friend's cousin's workmate just died of cancer. They didn't say that. They said, look, gave him positive words of encouragement, told him how alternative ways to try and make himself fit better, heal himself, put him in touch with other people that survived. So it didn't make sense that there was all this fear and nothing positive, or nothing about how to enhance your health. And I don't just mean diet and exercise. I mean, stress causes a negative impact on your health. The negativity itself.
I mean, age obviously has been a very major factor in those that have died. And you're right. I mean, a lot of people died with COVID, but some did die of it, and we have to acknowledge that. Weight, clearly a very major factor on this. Pre-existing chest conditions, obviously, certainly with the earlier variants. But the vaccine came along, and we saw the graphics today from Sir Chris Whitty. There he was with his charts and his graphs. And
reminding people to wash their hands like they never did that before COVID.
Well, do you know what? Actually, I tell you what, seriously, I think one thing we have learned is the importance of that, and maybe we had forgotten it. So that's not a bad thing culturally that may come out of this. But I completely get your opposition to further lockdowns and to the fact they went on as long as they did. I'm with you. When it comes to the mandates, I've been absolutely appalled at what's happened to our care workers, and I'm delighted that we appear to have overturned.
Yes, absolutely.
I think the Canadians, the truckers, I mean, to me, that's a human rights protest.
Absolutely.
So I'm with you on lots of this, but when it comes to the vaccine itself, you've called it a world experiment, an untested thing. I mean, you are pretty much in the anti-vax camp, aren't you?
Well, OK, so I haven't had the vaccine myself. I won't have it. I was open to it at the start. I said, if I see, if I see long term, it's OK, I might. But it's been 2 years. I haven't even caught COVID. So I'm only anti it for myself. My parents have had it. I didn't say anything to them about having it. That was their decision.
Do you accept the graphs that Whitty put up tonight? And by the way, when it comes, and Sally Cutler made a comment later on, which I don't think can be substantiated, at least I can't see any evidence for it. She said, having the vaccine, makes you less likely to catch it or spread it. I don't believe that for a moment.
No.
In fact, I've seen evidence to the contrary.
Right.
So I'm absolutely certain that having 3 jabs, 4 jabs, and goodness knows where it ends, doesn't stop you getting COVID, doesn't stop you spreading COVID.
Right.
Which is the main reason I'm against the mandates.
Yes.
But do you not believe the data that says that if you have the vaccine and you catch COVID, you're much less likely to get seriously ill?
Well, to be honest,
because I do believe that.
I've only really paid attention to the mandates because I've always been somebody that's about, your free choice. And if I've posted things that show side effects or people getting ill from it or anything else to do with the vaccine, or even the fact, the pharmaceutical companies have paid out the largest criminal fines, all of that. So when I've posted that, it's not to say don't get it, it's to say just know what you're getting, have informed consent, make sure you know everything about it. Because, I don't know if you know this, I was censored on Instagram and I've been banned on Facebook.
I know. And some of this has been very alarming.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I was actually censored for was talking about a $53 million lawsuit in Australia for a horse vaccine for people that were forced to give this vaccine to their horses. And it's a legitimate lawsuit happening now, and a lot of the horses died. So it wasn't even to do with the COVID vaccine. It was to do with a lawsuit for horses.
But
and
anybody that went against World Health Organization recommendations, and if they persistently did this on social media, was likely to find themselves.
And that's another thing. So I also did it at the start.
Which, by the way, I'm not approving of. No, I'm approving of fair, reasoned debate.
But that's the thing,
people having different opinions, and I'm not for incitement, and I'm not for misinformation, but I am for debate and opinion, Now, the other big issue of recent years, it's funny, isn't it? Because 31st of January, 2020, at 11 p.m, we left the European Union. And that day was the first reported case of COVID in the United Kingdom. And kind of the sort of COVID kind of ended the Brexit wars completely, but they got on for years and years and years. But you were very much on the opposite side to me in that, weren't you?
I was, do you know what? I was a Remainer, but after today, seeing that we're the first country in Europe, we're not in the EU, but we're in Europe, to have dropped all these restrictions actually makes me see that, you know, it is great that we can make our own decisions. And maybe I was wrong. And I don't mind, I'll probably be saying I'm wrong for the first time in 2 years, but I'll say I'm wrong here. I think it's a great thing that we have been able to make our own decisions. And I just hope that we never take a step back and go back into lockdown.
So for all of the battles of the last 2 years, for all of the passion that you put into this, today is a good day, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But we still need to look at America and Australia and try and support the people there that just want freedom and choice.
What about Canada?
Canada.
What about New Zealand, Western Australia, where they appear to have gone absolutely bonkers? Leilani, thank you very much indeed for joining me on Talking Pints. Very good to see you.
And this is Pimm's, by the way, not beer.
Very good. Thank you for joining me.